Bridget is trans. Bridget is 100% absolutely trans. I know there's been a big thing on Twitter and YouTube talking about their gender and what exactly they would associate as, male or female. But I can tell you right now, they are 100% trans feminine. The reason I can tell you this is a few things. First off, their address on the website states here, and if you want to go over to that, for their backstory, it states them as being a girl through most of it. While this is really good, it has caused a lot of misconception, as traditionally, Bridget was stated to be a guy earlier. Now, this would be not much of a problem if it weren't for the fact that since they've only been in one game, they've been established as a guy their whole existence past 10 years. So being girl suddenly seems a bit odd. However, there's a few things that would lead people to believe that they are a guy aside from just this. The first part is their backstory. They have been basically tormented for most of their childhood life and forced to being a girl. And that really sucks because they identified as a guy. They were just forced into it because of the superstition in their area. So, after they went out, they accepted themselves as a guy and everything was all said and done. However, if they're just a girl now, it would seem that would conflict a little. But it's okay because we do have an answer to this wonderful question. And that one's coming up a little bit later. However, there is a few things I want to talk about in which evidence that people could use to try to state that Bridget is a guy. We have the whole fact of his Japanese translation, or her Japanese translation, stating that they are a guy in most of their backstory, unlike the US one which states that they're a girl. This is interesting, as it did start the big confusion fest that everyone was talking about on Twitter. So overall, it would be really hard to just state whether or not they're a guy or a girl because we don't have all the information at the moment. Also, the fact that there was no real explanation as to why they were trans would seem to conflict with their backstory a little bit. This would mean that since they were rated as trans, that might, lead people to believe that they are, not respecting this character's past. However, there's new evidence that we have that would dictate that they are trans and that they are perfectly fine with it. The first one would obviously be their character design change. Now, if we look over here, there's a specific detail about Bridget that is really hard to see. But if you see on their cap, you can see that they have a male symbol over there. That's important because you need to be able to note that the Strive model has a female symbol on it, which is much different from their counterpart. Well, not a female symbol. It is the androgynous or transfem gender symbol, which is very important to note, as well as their design being more feminine overall. Another thing that they have here is the fact that their main argument obviously being the arcade mode, which is what 100% confirms that this character is trans. This character is definitely trans because in the arcade mode, they basically admit to themselves that they are a girl. This is stated in both the Japanese and the American versions of this mode.
年の割に年代物だ。
そりゃ逃げますよ。だってこのままでも幸せなんですから。
退くことも悪くない。ですが、未来の自分が後悔しないようよく考えることです。
逃 未来の自分ですか。でもそれで後悔したらどうしよう。
先は長いんだ。転び方の一つでも覚えたらどうだ。
差し伸べる手もここにあります。
うち怖くて逃げてたのはやめたいです。ここでごまかしちゃったら後悔するから。だからこれから何があっても自分には嘘つきません。お二人ともありがとうございます。
ああ、元気でな、お嬢ちゃん。いや、お坊ちゃんか。
お嬢ちゃんでいいですよ。うちは女の子ですから。
If I keep on faking it like this, I know I'll regret it. So from now on, no matter what, no more lying to myself. Thank you, both of you.
Don't mention it. Happy trails, cowgirl, or, cowboy.
Cowgirl is fine, because I'm a girl.
Thank you to Night Paradox for letting me figure out about this mod and the English translation of this. I couldn't have done it without you. As well as an EJ on YouTube. You were a commenter that helped correct me when I thought they were still just a guy. I do want to address the more I regress. I want to address the more vulnerable state that they are during the arcade mode. She was always super confident when they were figuring out they were a man, but as they questioned themselves more between games, the less confident they got. Until people like Kai and Goldick had to console her about it. However, afterwards, as you saw, they were able to pick themselves up and admit that they were trans. Being able to go about their life and make sure they live the happiest life they can. In which this whole series of events is actually very common for teens and young adults trying to come to terms with their possibly being trans. It's really easy to see why people would mistake them for being a guy. However, it is definitely non-negotiable. They are a trans femme girl, and they should be treated as such. I think it's really important to realize that Bridget being LGBT and trans is also very important for the trans community when it comes to representation. Not only is more representation always good for the game, but also the fact that their story isn't exactly what one would call the generic trans story is really good. You know, like the fact that she's had to worry about being a girl the whole time and had this pressure of being a manly bodyguard in the first game. Well, manly bounty hunter, not bodyguard. In their first game was really awesome, but since they are able to deal with that and they have been identifying as a guy the whole time, they have a lot of struggles with the whole fact that they are trans. And it's really awesome seeing how Bridget is able to deal with that and then come out as trans later on. It shows basically a character that not only has the whole stereotypical being sad as yourself until you learn you're a different gender, which to be fair, I've fallen in as well. But she's been happy as a male and female until she started questioning herself. However, with her struggled past and everything, it makes her more unique as a trans person than most of the representation in the media. And for that, I'm very happy to see how Bridget works and how they represent their gender. It's really interesting to see that and having a more complex gender representation in our game. Because it's not all just black and white. There's a lot of gray in there when it comes to human beings. And overall, that is really important to understand. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. And I hope you guys liked it. I can't wait to see you guys next time, and I will see y'all soon.